All right, it is Monday morning and we are back down in Snyder, Texas. We left Sunday morning from Indianapolis, made it to Wichita Falls, Texas last night and finished up the drive this morning. So we are going to be working on Sage's post-war silversides again. We just stopped off in town and picked up our new air compressor for it. Gene Russell sent us out a new compressor and everything that he thinks it's going to take to get it swapped out. So I'm guessing we're still going to have some fittings and stuff that are going to need to be taken care of. The cooling system has been drained since we were here last. We had put some water in it. It still had everything else that was in it from before, but they just had a pretty good snowstorm and some cold weather, so they went ahead and drained it for us, which it was going to have to be drained anyway to put the compressor on, so that's going to help us out. But we're going to start today by cleaning this engine up a little bit. I shouldn't have to be laying under it and we can move it. So we're gonna get the hose out, get some degreaser out, kind of get everything cleaned up a little bit. Right now on the list of things that we need to do before this thing hits the road, that compressor needs to get changed. We need to replace the check valve up front here that goes between the air tanks on the front of the bus. That one-way valve is bad and is not letting air to the auxiliary tank. The bus needs greased. I need to adjust the brakes. And we need to remove the air assist steering because the steering is locking up on it. Our goal is today and tomorrow to work on this thing. And Wednesday be on the road. We've already road tested it. We know most things work on it. And we learned that those things obviously didn't when we were here the last time. So we're going to get some stuff out, get clean in here, and then get to work. It's going to be like 76 degrees today. Tomorrow's going to be windy, but in the 50s. Then hopefully we're out here before Wednesday, because Wednesday it's going to rain for a couple days. I think Wednesday and Thursday are lost terrain out here. So we sprayed it down with degreaser. And then I went over it with a wire brush, trying to break some of the dirt loose on it. This thing is just covered in mud and dirt and dust. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but this is a lot better than it was. We just mainly wanted to get around the compressor there so that when I pull it off, there's not a bunch of dirt and stuff trying to get into the motor. So we're starting to get all the lines disconnected here from the air compressor. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect both of these, then I'll screw the T out of it. We'll get this one off, then we'll start working at some of the ones down here on it. This one is still getting air from a second wrench that's just wanting to turn. Already got that one broke loose. So we got the old compressor off here, and this is going to be the new one that we're going to be running. So I'm running into a little bit of an issue right now where this is hitting on the bell housing of the transmission. So I bring it down here. You see right in there, it's hitting on the edge of the bell housing. Now I've already tapered it down at an angle so the front of this will come in. Now I need to take that back edge down a little bit so the bottom of the compressor will clear it. It's an unused section of the bell housing there. It just has to get some clearancing done so this new compressor will come all the way into the motor. So it's not a huge deal. Pull the compressor back out, stuff that hole full of rags again. We'll just take a little more material off until this will fit right up in there. You're always going to run into some issues like that when you're going to retrofit stuff. I've already got a pretty good idea of how all my lines are going to run. Our inlet is back here. We're going to modify the hard line that comes out of the air box. Take a piece of rubber hose that's going to go in there. This fitting will get reclocked. This is off the old compressor. We'll go right back to this hose. This air line will need an adapter and will end up down here. Oil line is right there. We shouldn't have a problem. And then I've got two coolant hoses that are going here and one here. These two, I have to go get some fittings from the store. Once I get it in place, it'll go no problem. This one, I will need to make a new hose for, because before they were both on the same side of the compressor. So when I do this one, the hose that it goes to is mounted behind the pump. So instead of taking it off there, I'm going to put a union and a second piece of hose just to get it up to this compressor here so we don't have to take it all apart. So we got a box full of hoses and fittings here. Ran into town to Ben Wilson Supply and they got us hooked up. So that should be everything that I need to get this compressor hooked up today. So we ran into town, picked up fittings, get our cooling lines in, cooling line on the other side. Oil and air have been hooked up. I need to reclock this fitting for the air discharge. I also need to reclock down there the air inlet fitting, which is still going to be running over here to the air box. And then we ended up replacing this fuel line. It was in pretty bad shape, so we got that taken care of. So I just got a couple more fittings to reclock and get tightened here. Then I'm going to tighten this compressor up against the motor, and I think we'll be ready to start putting coolant in it. Alright, so we're under the front of the bus here, and one of the problems we have is with the steering trying to lock up on us. So there's our drag link. Right there is the air assist cylinder. Bolts in right there. If you look over on this side, though, that's the plate that it hangs off of, and if you can see, it's laying on the drag link. So that's our problem with why the steering is acting funny. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to bend that bracket up straight so it's no longer touching the drag link. Once we get that bent up, that'll fix the air assist steering problem. The other problem I have is I believe the check valve to these front air tanks here is not working. I'm only getting air, I believe, to one of the two tanks. I'm not the one who originally looked at this. Patrick was under the front of the bus. I had him look at it when he was here the last time, so I believe that's what's wrong with those. Well, let's get that figured out, but go from there. Alright, so now we have clearance on that steering link. I'm gonna let the jack down and see if it comes all the way back or if it stays up. Oh, there we go. So that's enough clearance there. We can drive now. I'm probably gonna go ahead and put the jack back up. It's the end of the day. This is the last job I'm working on this today. So I'll probably just leave it jacked up all night. See if it'll bend a little bit more, but now when we go to turn, we're not gonna be dragging across the top of this drag link here, and the steering won't start binding up on us. You can see, I don't know how well the light is, there's a whole rub mark all the way across there where it's been rubbing. So now that that's fixed up, we should be able to turn. So we got the new compressor installed here. Started getting the cooling system filled up. We're gonna let it kind of bleed and burp overnight. But that's another big thing checked off our list. That and the steering were two of my probably three big concerns about getting this thing back on the road. All that's left is figure out why we're not getting air to that front aux tank. That'll be on tomorrow. Like I said, I had Patrick look at it when we were out here last time, and he said he thinks that it's the check valve to it. We have a new check valve, if that is the case, already with us.
You know where that is? The check valve?
Gave it to you this morning.
Oh, we'll find
So
it.
you took it when you crawled under the bus the first time.
Sure.
So we got going with the batteries on the charger for a little while today because they have been sitting for a couple weeks. And when we bought those brand new, they were kind of dead. They should have been charged when we left, but we figured we'd just go ahead and do it because we had the time today. So we made some pretty good progress, I think. What do you think?
I bet.
Especially considering how much, I mean, we didn't get here till almost lunchtime today.
Yeah, we got about 11.
And by the time we killed going to the parts store, going around, a couple hours of work, and we got quite a bit done today.
Yeah. No,
After cannonballing here yesterday and this morning. That was a long drive. But we'll have more for you tomorrow. I'm hoping tomorrow goes nice and quick. I talked to Mom and Dad today. They're in Amarillo when I last talked to them. If we can get this thing done quick enough tomorrow, there's a chance we might be able to meet up with them in Oklahoma City and follow them the rest of the way back to Indy. But they have to be back sooner than I do. So if we're running late, they really can't sit around and wait for us. But we'll have to see. So we figured since we had a little bit of time to kill before it gets really dark tonight, we'd kind of drive up towards the oil field outside of Snyder here and see what it's like. See how big it is. So all those lights over there and that big fire you can see coming up, that's going to be the oil field.